Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is Tushar, and welcome to this session on Centum Explore. I hope you all are able to hear me. So, if in the chat box you could just confirm saying why, so that will be great, good enough indication. So, yep, and request everyone to keep your mics on mute. And whenever we need to talk, anyways, all of you are familiar with our protocols that we say y or n whenever we say yes or no. So you can use that system. So we'll start in a short while, and I hope the screen is also visible to you. So are you able to see the screen? Yes, screen is visible to
Yes.
everybody. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So good evening to everyone, and I have my other two experts panelists on this in this session. I welcome Swastik C and Manika Singla. Both of them are research fellows in Indian Institute of Astrophysics, which is located in Bangalore, and they have been partnering with Centum Academy in previous such exploration sessions as well. So Swastik belongs to West Bengal, and he has a lot of interest in astronomy and astrophysics. As we had already shared the details of the panelists in the posters, where we had told you that Manika is doing her research in astrobiology. So that is a new field, relatively new field, so to say. It's still in very infant stage. So that would be something very exciting for all of you to know about. And Swastik is anyways doing his research in astrophysics. So they will be talking about their own research areas in more deeper details. Now, what is the objective of the session is through these series of lectures, we want to expose all of you to different vocations or different professions, different streams. Unfortunately, I remember during my time when I was in high school, that time it was very difficult to actually figure out what all streams are, and especially I was never sure whether chemical engineering is different from chemistry, and because of that I landed up in some other institution. And we, on a lighter moment, we share with my colleague Dheeraj sir that if I had known that chemical engineering is not about chemistry only, or if in fact there is no correlation between chemical engineering and chemistry, then probably I would have landed up in your institute and you would have ragged me. So this is what we keep on talking about lack of information on different streams. So with this series, what we are intending to do is, as and when we'll get hold to different experts, we'll invite them over this session, and they will talk about their respective streams, so that you guys get to understand what these streams are. And just a minute. Yeah, so that I must be visible also. I was all this while I was not visible. So I hope you can see me. This is Tushar. So that was I was saying. So hence, let's introduce my panelists. So I would like Swastik to introduce yourself, followed by Manika, and then we can start the session. Yeah, Swastik.
Yeah, hi everyone. So this is Swastik from Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and I mostly work on star-planet interaction and planet formation scenarios. So that's my research field, and I hope I'll be able to we'll be able to have a good discussion time today. So first, and thanks Tushar for letting me speak in this platform and interacting with your students. I hope we'll have a good session today.
Yeah, Manika, you can introduce yourself, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Manika and I work in Indian Institute of Astrophysics as a PhD student. My research topic is finding habitability in the Earth-like planets. And so, yeah, I will introduce you all with astrophysics. So hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks Swastik and Manika. Now what we are going to do is, guys, we are going to show you some questionnaires. So as you are already doing, so those who are in 9th and 10th foundation course with us, they are aware of Menti quizzes, and those who are in 11th and 12th regular JEE and NEET program, they also know how we do polls during the Zoom sessions. So here is a small poll for you before we start, and that poll will give you an idea of where do we stand in terms of our knowledge with respect to these specialized fields. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the next slide. Before that, you have to just, or when you see the slide, what you need to do is you need to say the answer, or the answers could be in yes and no, or for, multiple choice, that is MCQ. Okay, so here is the first poll to you in front of you. Okay, so the poll is this.
People are still joining in, so what should
Yeah,
we do?
so you can answer in yes or no. I hope this screen is visible to everybody.
So no, so we can't see the screen.
It's not
So we
visible to
can
everybody.
see it. We can see it, yeah.
You can see, right? Yeah, I can see some responses coming already.
We can see it, sir. It's clear.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
So I haven't gotten the link.
No, there's no link of Menti, guys. This is happening just now here in the session. You can say yes or no. It will be popping up in front of your screen, the options. So just mark yes or no.
So the options are not visible.
Yep, sorry. Someone is saying something. You'll have to
You can move the window of the yes or no thing.
What is it?
No, like those who are taking the poll can move
Okay.
their window and look at the question if it is not clear.
Yeah. So shall we? Everyone has answered. So I think 68, 70 people have answered so far. So 103 people. I request everyone to participate in the poll, and let us see how the response is, or what kind of.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, where will we get the polls? I'm not able to find it.
See, those who have joined after the poll has started, probably they will not be able to see it. Okay.
No, sir. I joined 5 minutes earlier.
It's okay. It's okay. Next time onwards.
No problem. So it's just a, there's no marks attached, so don't worry. It's just a simple, so you can,
If you're not,
your distinct with the final responses. Don't worry.
if anyone is not able to see the poll, you can put your answer in the chat box also. That is also fine. Like for those who are not able to see, if you want to answer, you can answer it in the chat box also, if you wish to.
Okay, so I think now we can show the results. So enough of lots of people have already voted. So I am showing the results now. So it's around 86 responses we have got. So let us see that.
If you are attending the meeting from the phone itself, probably you have to click poll in progress to look at.
So this is the result, guys. So do you see the result? So how many? 97% people believe that there is life outside the planet Earth. That's really exciting for all of us, because we know if we happen to survive all these epidemics like corona and all, we have to move to Moon or Mars. So maybe people like Swastik and Manika are going to help us to reach that place. So hence astrophysics is the need of the hour. Okay, so good. So we are going to the next question, guys. So again, there will be a 4-option question on your screen. What you need to do is see which option do you think is correct. Okay, so let me. Okay, so next one is, and here is the question. Please mark your answers. Let's understand your knowledge of astrophysics. Okay, so question is, shooting stars are comets.
So we send the answers to the host, right? Santem Academy.
No, you have to just set. You don't need to send the answers to the host. You have to just respond in the polling feature. Gargi.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Good. So I will wait for a minute maybe, and I think 86 people have already voted. So there are only 70% people have voted so far. I would request everyone to please participate actively. So there is no judgment here. We just need to understand where do we stand, so that we can get an idea, and then we will be able to guide you accordingly. No problem. So just dipstick here to understand where do we stand. In fact, I was also not knowing many of these answers until Swastik and Manika told me about all of that. So Don't worry at all. Okay. So please feel free to respond. There is no marks. You're not going to pass or fail your board exams here. So relax and answer. Try your luck maybe also. Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And these are anonymous also, so no one knows what's your answer, I guess. So
Yes. Okay. Yes. So 100 people have responded. I believe now it's like we can share the results. So this is the result of this poll. So okay, 73% people say they are meteors. 18% say it is comet. And C, okay, satellites. Very very clear that it is not a satellite. So that's okay. So yeah. So Swastik would like to later
yeah,
on.
so, yeah, this is correct. Answer is B, meteors only. So yeah, I'm happy that 73% of you gave the right answer.
Great.
So, yeah.
So
great.
we are going to the next question now. So keep these responses in mind because these are relevant questions which are part of the discussions later on. So let's go to the next one. And I create a new poll. Okay. Now, so this is another MCQ. So feel free to answer now. This is the question. Yeah. So you know there are lots of constellations when you see in a clear sky. Unfortunately, in Bangalore, and this is a common discussion point between me and Swastik that we really struggle. Both of us have a telescope, but we really struggle to find a clear night sky to have a great look at the sky. So we bank on lots of apps and other applications.
Yeah.
To understand, and Swastik has actually introduced me to lots of good applications now available on mobile phone. If you're really interested in astronomy, you can pick one of them and start delving deeper into it. So yeah, so let's respond. So 87 people have answered. So 66% people voted. We have around 137 people right now in the meeting. So we'll encourage everyone to respond.
Somebody raised their hand, Siddharth, if you.
Yeah, Siddharth has raised his hand.
Do you want to say something?
If at all anything, because there are lots of people, so it's better you can just text it to us, and we'll take care of.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, you don't need to respond in the chat box. That's not required. You just need to if at all you're not able to, then you can. Okay, yeah. No problem. So here is okay. So you can just put in the chat and then we can see from there. Okay, so I'm ending the polling right now because I think so. This is the result. Let me show the results because we'll go to So this is the
correct
result. So 54% people say 88.
Yeah.
So so that means more than 50% people know the right answer. Okay, that's nice.
I'll just add on to this. Those who have answered A, basically 12. So maybe their thought process is work that we zodiac symbol. So yes, there are actually 12 constellations, but they pass through the this arts plane. But in total, there are 88 constellations. So if the question was how many constellations are there that intersects with the arts motion or arts plane, then the answer will be 12. But since it's a general question, how many constellations are there, or how many ways can we divide the sky as of now? So that's why the answer is 88, right? So yeah.
Great. So let's go to the next one. And this is the last one before we start our discussion. Yeah. So this is a new thing which has come up these days. There is a flat earth society also. Most of you would have come across this new debate which is going on these days. Quite interesting. Logics also given in favor of and in against of established principles, I believe. So it would be good to see how many of you are, bucketed in those two clusters. So that will be important. Okay. Oh, I as a host, I can see there are all different types of answers which are there.
Yes.
So, that's nice. Okay. Okay, a lot of people are messaging it to me in person. I don't, you don't need to do that. If you're not able to, no worries. So, okay. So we have responses from around 100 people now. So I think I'll give you another 10 seconds to respond quickly. Yep. Okay. Great. 110. So we have 140 participants now almost. Yep. Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm now showing the results of the poll. Okay. So this is the result which we have got, and then you say when
So I'm surprised that at 5% of the people still believe that Earth is flat. Well, Earth is not flat at all. It's been proved long time back. So I'll just share a short story about this. So today, most of you can take a telescope and look into the night sky, and it's fine. Like no one is going to arrest you or kill you for that. But long time back in ancient Greece, it was one of the most daring acts. According to the local belief that of course the earth was flat, and looking towards pointing a telescope towards the sky was considered something very like daring kind of thing. And when Columbus actually discovered the Caribbean islands, it was well known by that time that the earth is actually round, it's not flat. So it's not the correct answer, as I can see 49% of you have seen there. Kepler came long back, so so the story is long back after the Kepler, so it's not the correct answer as well. So B is the correct answer. And if you go through it in little details, if you're interested, the ancient Greeks have already by that time have found out what is the circumference of the earth. Not only they have proved that the earth was not flat, they have found out what is the circumference of the earth by just using a shadow of a stick. So that's an interesting task. I'd like all of you to go back and see how was the earth's circumference found out in the first place in ancient Greece. And the error bar is also less than 4%, like whatever the circumference we know today and whatever they have calculated long time back in 430 BC approximately. So it's just a 5% error. So yes, the earth is not flat was proved like even before Jesus Christ was born. So B is the correct answer to this question.
Great. So now what we are going to do is the entire session is planned like this. We will introduce the subject. Both these experts will talk about their respective fields and introduce you to the fields. There will be some bit of information which you already know. There will be something which you don't know. Towards the later half, what we are going to do is, if at all you want to pursue these fields, then from here on, what you should do. What are the options available for you in India? And to an extent, we can also talk about, you already know there are lots of options available in foreign universities as well. So we'll talk about that. How do you pursue this field? Very specialized field, so to say. So hence, to take it in undergrad level itself is something which is really, very rare in the sense, not many, opportunities in terms of availability of good colleges. And the seats are there. So, but then having said that, there are options you can definitely pursue. And there are institutions, for example, Indian Institute of Astrophysics is one. But most of these institutions are postgraduate and research-based institutions. So we'll talk about all of that. So stay tuned till the end. And toward the end, you can also have your questions answered by whatever we are knowing. We'll be sharing those information with you. So we can take those questions in the Q&A sessions towards the end of the session. So that's how this session is planned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm hand over to Manika here, and she will be taking you through the basics of the course, and followed by the career opportunities and related stuff will be taken by Swastik, and then we'll take up Q&A. Okay, so Manika, all yours. You have to unmute yourself, I believe. So.
Hello, am I audible?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So when you look at the clear sky night, what you all people see? So you can use the chat box. It will be an interactive session.
Yeah. So those who want to respond, you can, let's try to make it as interactive as possible. So we have purposefully not let the audio communication be on because there will be lots of confusion otherwise. But I would definitely request you to put it in the chat so that we can understand what exactly are your responses. Yes. Manika, I hope you can see the chats.
No.
Yes, you have to go to the yes, so I will assist you, no worry. So they are saying dark sky, star, moon sky, stars, millions of stars. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Galaxy,
exactly.
planet. So someone is also able to see galaxy from Earth. Just like, okay, very good. Constellations.
So yes, comets, asteroids, stars, moons. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So today we will travel through space and see what all happens and what are the phenomena that occur. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so let's travel through space and.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So we will start from our Earth. So as you all know, this is our home planet, and it is the third planet in our solar system. And yeah, it is the only known planet till now that has life possible on it. So let's move farther from Earth, and here comes our solar system. So can anyone tell what is in the solar system? What all the things are in the solar system?
Now you guys can post in the comment chat. I have made it possible, so everyone can just put in your comment chat section. Yeah. No, you don't need to send it to me privately. So you can put it in, so everyone is sending this thing to me. So you can put it in the common chat box now. Yeah.
Yeah, planets, stars, okay, meteorites. Yeah, all are correct. So
yeah, Manika, go ahead.
Yeah. So the solar system consists of 8 planets that you all know, the meteoroids, all the dwarf planets, moons. So not only our Earth has moon, but many planets have moons and millions of comets, asteroids, etc. So what do you think, like, how old is our solar system? Is it older than you, older than your grandfather or great grandfather?
5.5 billion years. My God.
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah, you are close. Sorry.
Manika, I think there is a black spot in your screen. Am I only able to see it, or is it there for everyone?
Yeah, this is the, I think the chat box or something which is there. Yes, you can just replace it.
Yeah,
this is the chat box, I think.
Okay, yeah, just can you keep it there? Yeah, it's just obstructing the view. That's why.
Okay.
No problem. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So yes, it is 4.6 billion years of age, and it started as a spinning cloud of gas and dust that later condensed. And so can you assist me with the chat? Actually, I'm not able to change the slides with chat box open.
Yeah, no problem. I'll tell you the responses. You can carry on with the presentation. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about sun? It is even older. It is 5 billion years old, and it is the main source of light. So have you ever wondered, like, if we travel to sun, what will happen to?
We will vaporize.
Yes.
Your voice is not. Yeah.
Hello.
Voice.
Yeah, your voice was muted for some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all would evaporate. The sun's surface temperature is about 5,500 degrees Celsius. And it is composed almost of helium and hydrogen. It is a main sequence star in which hydrogen is burning in its core. And yeah, so now comes the solar eclipse. So what is the phenomena of the solar eclipse? Can anyone tell?
Yeah. So recently we had this event, some months back in Bangalore. We could see the solar eclipse. Yeah, that unfortunately that day was little cloudy, so we could not see through our instruments which we had. So yes, we had partial. Correct, Nikita.
Yeah,
partial.
correct. Yeah.
Huh. Yes,
Yeah.
Swastik.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the solar eclipse happens when sun, moon, and earth are aligned. Basically, the moon hides the sun, and there can be total solar eclipse or partial. So if it is this region of the earth, then it will be the total solar eclipse, and other parts it will be the partial solar eclipse. And at that time only we are able to see the solar corona, this part of the sun, otherwise which is not visible to us. And so let's talk about moon. So when we suppose if we go to moon, our weight will be 1/6 of our weight on earth. So this is now I'm sharing a video which tells us about the moon landing, the Apollo 11. So are you able to see?
Okay, it's go there, Capcom on the hot fire. Okay, all flight controllers going around the horn, gonna go for undocking. Okay, retro, go. Fido, go. Guide, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. Jinsei, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, word, go for undocking.
Armstrong alternate.
Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, word, go for undocking.
Armstrong alternate Collins arrived at the moon on Saturday, July 19th.
When we did get close and we rolled out and saw it for the first time, that was revelation.
Okay, you can just explain. I think there is some bit of this thing.
Net lagging is there, so you
yeah.
can
So Swastik, you can also try and whichever way you just explain the thing which you're on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Manika, are you there? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So so when you look at the clear sky night, how many stars do you see? So we see a few thousand stars, and some are colder than our sun, some are hotter than our sun, and each of them have hydrogen burning in its core, and they are known as the main sequence stars. Yeah, so all of these stars have at least one planet that is orbiting around them, and these are known as the extrasolar or exoplanets. And yeah, these are outside of our solar systems. And Michael Mayer and Didier Queloz discovered the first exoplanet, 51 Pegasi b, in 1995. So do you all think, yeah, I saw the polling results, 97% of you believe that life exists outside of our Earth. Yes, you are right. It should be, because you see there are millions of stars in our universe, and every one of them has at least one planet, and almost for every almost and many stars have Earth-like planets which receive the same which receive the same stellar intensity as that of Earth. So there's a high possibility that they have life on it. So these are some other kind of stars. First one is the supernova. So what do you think we all are made of? So we all are made of stardust. Everything we find on Earth, it's made of stardust only. So let's think it this way. So when a massive star is at the end of its life, it explodes, and all the matter and debris shoots in the space, and that's when the planets are formed and many more things. So it is basically the birth of a new star. And when a star which is more massive, when a supermassive star ends its life, it becomes a black hole. So why do you think the name is black hole? Why is it black? Because it absorbs all the light. So we can understand it this way. Suppose if you throw a ball from Earth, and it will come back after some time. But if you increase the speed, then it will come back after some more time. But now you increase the speed such that it is nearly, it's just the escape velocity. Then it will never come back. So similar is the black hole. Now, if we consider Earth as a black hole, then even light cannot come back to it. And everything, so that's why we say that even light cannot escape the black hole. And the other is red giant. So this is when the low massive stars, like just like our sun, it will be at the end of its life, it will become a red giant. And our sun will also become a red giant one day, and it will engulf all the inner planets, including Earth. So this is the first ever image of a black hole, which was taken by the Event Horizon Telescope. This black hole is at the heart of M87 galaxy, and a black hole bends the space-time. We all bend the space-time, but it is relatively very small. Since so when two orbiting black holes are there, they emit the gravity waves. And so what are gravity waves? They are the ripples in the space-time, and they were first detected by LIGO. And this LIGO is a combination of two observatories, and each arm is more than 4 kilometers long. And so let's move to some farther. This is what is a galaxy? It is a combination of stars and gases which are bound by their own gravity, and galaxies are the building blocks of the universe. So in the center, it can be a black hole or active galactic nuclei. In the center, the temperature is more, and as we go outwards, the temperature decreases. And this is so our galaxy is the Milky Way, and suppose here the sun is, and we will be here. So this is not the real image of Milky Way, as we haven't gone farther from the Milky Way to take the image of Milky Way galaxy. Yes. And so how all these images were taken? They were taken by using telescope. Yes, it's very obvious nowadays to use a telescope, but it was not before 1600. Before 1600, mostly naked eye observations were done. And after that, Newton's reflector, Galileo's refractor came, and mainly all the visible light observations were done. And between 1850 to 1950, the astrophotography came, the spectroscopy came, and the radio waves were invented. Then still later, from 1950 to the present, the much more advancements are done. So we are now doing multi-wavelength observations like gamma ray, X-ray, radio waves, etc. And the space telescopes like Hubble Space Telescope is there, larger telescopes like VLT, or so now some telescopes are still on progress, like 30-meter telescope, which will be the world's largest telescope. So Swastik will tell you about all those. So now Swastik will tell you about the career in astronomy. Thank you.
Thank you, Manika. And I have a question to all of you, since Manika was not able to see the chat. So yeah, Manika, you asked a question in the between that how many stars can we see, and I got like people said million, billion, and quadrillion. So my question
at one time we can.
Yeah. So
time we can see few thousand stars.
Yes. So my question to the audience is that can you say me if I'm not using any telescope or any other equipments, let's say I'm just seeing with my eye, and let's assume the sky is clear, how many stars, like statistically speaking, how many stars can you see? Like, will it be in hundreds or thousands, or it's for the audience, or will it be for in how many? Any answer? Can you just put it in the chat box so that we can...
So I have again given the permission to make it a public this thing. So you can just mention there. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So would request everyone to not talk to each other and concentrate on whatever we are going to discuss. There are lots of towards the end, if there are questions, you can one by one take them. Otherwise, it will be lost in the middle. So hence, use the chat to interact with the the panelists here, and then towards the end we'll anyways take your questions. So don't worry about it. Yeah, Swastik, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah. So Tushar, can you help me with
Yes,
the chat?
I can see. Yes.
Yeah. No. Can you tell me what is the answers in the chat box? I'm not able to see here.
Oh, okay. I'll show you. I'll tell you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So yes. So they are talking about quite a few, around 100. So this is Manish. Who's Siddharth is saying 100. Gargi is saying dependent on light pollution. And Ruchir.
Question was
there
is no, okay. Yeah. So there is there is no light pollution. Assuming that there is no light pollution at all, everything is fine, and you don't have a telescope. That's the main criteria about it. So yes. So I got some answer from Let me name a few.
So Vaishnavi is saying one followed by million zeros from Harsha. Harsha says 30 to 50, few hundreds. Parvati says. Rutvik says in thousands probably. Okay. And there are answers like 2,000, 3,000.
Yes, typically we can see around 6,000 stars maximum. So it's statistically speaking, again, it depends on which place of the earth you are and which position of the earth you are. It depends on that. But statistically speaking, with your eye, you can see approximately around 6,000 stars. It can be plus minus 500 to 600, but statistically speaking, it should be around not more than 7,000
stars. But my question here is, Swastik, is it possible to in fact enumerate all the stars? How do so basically you're saying statistically, yeah. But has anyone tried? Because this is something in Hindi we call, Tare Ginna is a very difficult job.
Oh, good question. So what we do is that maybe, let's say whenever we say, like, let's say Manika said, like for every star has at least one planet. And we say that there are millions and billions of galaxies. Now, of course, we haven't counted it. That's true. What we do is that we select a particular patch of the sky. Somebody made a mark on the screen.
Yeah, so please avoid doing that. Don't use annotations. Then we'll have to, work around it. Please do that. And you carry on, Swastika.
Yeah. So what usually we do is that we take a particular section of the sky. Let's say 1 arc second into 1 arc second area of the sky, and we do the statistics on that entire a portion of the sky, right? Let's say like many of you have heard of the Hubble telescope. So most of the statistics, what we do is like we have taken a small portion of the sky, and then we have studied that portion in details. How many galaxies are there? How many stars are there? What all things are there about it? So, and then we have generalized it over the whole sky, and from there we arrive at the conclusion. Similarly, for like just now I have said 6,000 statistically, we take a very small portion of the sky and we count how many stars are there. Let's say we can take a block of 1 arc minute by 1 arc minute, and then we can count how many stars are there. It's not very difficult. After that, we find out, like we multiply it with the total area of the sky, and then we make the conclusion that there should be this amount of sky or something like that.
Yeah, guys, again, I'll request not to do any such activity. Otherwise, I'll have to just, bar you from the meeting. Please don't annotate in the screen. Yes, requesting again, please, guys, just do not do that. Okay. So because it also shares, shares who all are doing. So you can just, Swastik, you can just remove the annotations yourself. No problem. In the options, it is there. You can remove them. Please, guys, I request everyone, let's maintain the decorum and let's not disturb the, the speaker. Yeah.
I think it's removed now. So yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Fine. Okay, I'll share my full screen. What happened? I'm not able to share.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Carry on. Yeah.
So you can see my screen, right?
Yes. Full screen is there.
Okay. So the question is, why should I choose astronomy as a career option? Not only astronomy, let's say any subject or any topic, let's say medicine or something. Why should I choose it as a career option? This is very important question, of course. So there could be multiple answers to it. Some people think of if I have a good salary and I'll be well settled in life, and that's one of the way why people think about it. There's another point, we think peace of mind. Some people think the peace of mind is necessary rather than having a like big salary or something. So people have different perspective. Well, for astronomy, there is one more perspective in this. So see, in day-to-day life, we never think of the big questions. Like we are so much engaged with the smaller and smaller aspects of life and day-to-day life events, but we do not come out of it. Like very rarely we come out of it and then we think about ourselves. As it's part of philosophy also, we do not have the answer to this question. Where did we come from? What are we doing here? And what's our final destination after our death? What will happen or something like that? So yes, there are answers in like, but I'll not go into like any kind of controversy here, but there are answers to this question in a different way. But scientifically speaking, we have not come to any conclusion to answer all this question. So maybe from at least from a philosophical point of view, let's say you can also think about it like it gives me this astronomy, astrophysics gives me an opportunity to understand our, like we as a human, why are we here, our our presence, our existence, and is there life outside this narrow space that we know about it. So that's one of the way I as an astronomer think it is like well, other things are also important. I understand, like good salary is important. You cannot do a good research without good funds. That's important. But at the same time, there should be, at the end of the day, I should be like comfortable. Okay, I love teaching, I am teaching, so I'm happy with that. So that is also one of the things people should feel like. But it's up to you. It's my perspective, which I have shared with you. So yeah, that's fine. So yes, astronomy needs both scientists and engineers, right? So there's a very wrong notion about this, that we only require scientists, we do not need engineers. Why do we need engineers to study astronomy? Well, we need telescopes at the first place, right? If you do not have telescopes, there's no way to observe or study the universe, right? So we need good engineers to develop and build new instruments and to upgrade the capabilities of the existing instruments. That is very, very important. Well, as a science perspective, as a scientist perspective, after the instrumentation or after the telescope is there, now understanding the origin or maybe the science cases of the subject is also very important. So that's why we need scientists as well as engineers. So we need both of them, and we need good scientists and engineers in this field so that the progress of the field is maintained. So even if somebody is interested to go for engineering, let's say, then that person also has the option to come to astronomy at a later stage. It's not like only people who are doing PCM, like physics, chemistry, maths, and doing graduation can come. It's not like that. We need a lot of people. In my subsequent slides, I'll be coming to it. So, okay. Many people have asked me what is the difference between astronomy, astrophysics, cosmology. Well, astronomy is like studying the position, brightness, and the mechanics of the stars. Astrophysics is why they are there, the physics behind it, right? So I'll share a small story with you. So initially till 20th century, it was all astronomy. We knew that it was like, we knew the stars were there, we knew this was there and this was there, but there was no physics behind it. We did not have the notion, or we did not have the understanding or capability to understand what actually is going on. To be honest, many people will disagree with me, but I personally feel after Meghnad Saha introduced his famous Saha ionization formula, you can look it around in the Google, I have not added it for simplicity. After he found out the Saha ionization, we were able to explain why most of the stars look in that way, why the color of the star is red or blue or green or what, sorry, not green, red, blue, or whatever color it is. Why is it there? So from there, it actually the journey from astronomy to astrophysics, a proper understanding of the subject actually began. Cosmology is actually studying the large scale of the universe as a whole. It's more or less a statistical study, how the universe was formed, how the universe began, what is the current state, that's it. And yeah, that's something which I mentioned in it in red, astrology. That's completely fake and pseudoscience. My dear students, don't believe in astrology. It's something, it has nothing to do with any science. Many people say, I have seen, it's astrological sciences, but it's fake. It's completely fake and pseudoscience. It has no, it cannot make any kind of prophecy. And believe me, the stars do not affect your daily day-to-day life. The stars have their own life cycle. They have nothing to do with your life on Earth, right? I'll just give one example. Let's say we take identical twins. So people who are born on the same day. So astrologically speaking, they should have the same constellation, or whatever we call it in our mythology. So they should have the same chart structure or something like that. So they should have the same future, right? But we do not see that both the twins share the same future. So that is one of the way you can prove that it's a completely fake and pseudoscience. How astronomy is different from other sciences? Well, I get the question from my colleagues, like, why study astronomy? Why invest so much of money in this project? Like, we are not going to go to moon in our life. I get this question, but we need to know like our origin. That's one of the question. And they are too remote. We cannot bring them to laboratory and do the study. It's not possible at all. We cannot go, okay, as of now, we can go to Mars, but till now we cannot bring a rock from the Mars and then study it on the Earth. For moon, we have done it. Let's say we, even in future, if we are able to do it, it's not possible for so many other planets also. So it's a unique kind of field where we have to study from the observation only. We cannot do much of a laboratory experiments. We can do, but it's very limited in astrophysics, unlike the other subjects. How do I become an astronomer after +2? So mostly people have been asking this question. This is a very small diagram. There are other basic lines also as well, but I'll be just showing you the standard diagram. So after 12th, you can go for BSc Physics. After that, you have to do a master's in physics, and then you can go for a PhD in astrophysics and astronomy. And then you have a postdoc, and then you become associate professor, become a scientist. It's a long process, but at least the basic frame, or to claim yourself as an astrophysicist, is you should be enrolled in a PhD program. That's how you can call yourself to be a pursuing astronomer or astrophysicist. Well, the other route is you can do a BTech, and then you can go for an MTech in astronomical instrumentation. There are other fields also where subsequent, I know people who have done MTech in IT and computer science and other fields, and they have gone for a PhD in astronomy and astrophysics, but those are very specific cases where people look for data analysis people or astronomical fields which are
so I think, in my opinion, that is like ancillary or supporting kind of.
Yes, exactly. So there are so for MTech, for other branches also, if it is not astronomical instrumentation, there it's not impossible to become an astronomer or astrophysicist, but it's very competitive. That's what I'm saying. So yeah. And then for IIA, we have a program that is PhD in astronomical instrumentation that you can apply. Even if you have BTech, you need to have MTech or MSc, then you can apply for PhD in astronomical instrumentation. Sorry for that, you can, with BTech also, you can apply for PhD in astronomical instrumentation, right? So typically speaking, as an astrophysicist in a day-to-day life, I need almost a lot of subjects outside physics. So people always think that, okay, I'm an astrophysicist, I only study the stars and planets and something like that. That's not true. I need physics. I need a good knowledge of programming. I need to know the chemistry behind stars. Statistics, I said how we deal with statistics and all. Mathematics is very, very important. It's the framework of everything, not only astrophysics. Geology is required to understand the surface of different planets. Astronomy is required to understand. And astrobiology is required for elementary biology and understanding how life is possible outside our.
So there's a question. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Someone is asking why programming though. So programming is programming is like English of any science now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've heard of the LIGO experiment which is going on, and remarkably unique in its nature. Why? Because they are giving us the evidences of something called gravitational waves. So there, if you go and some time back, Swastik was talking about engineering and instrumentation. Very sophisticated instruments are there. If you have get a chance, do find out something about LIGO, and there you will see how sensitive the instruments are, because they are talking about even tenths and hundredths of the let's say the size of a nucleus, and you have to detect that kind of a difference. Okay, so hence, until unless first of all you have to have a very sophisticated instrumentation. On top of it, you must have, let's say, mechanisms to read those differences, or determine pattern from a huge set of data. How do you do that? It's humanly impossible. So until unless you are very good at using machines, and in fact one of the application areas of supercomputer is astronomy, because you would know that humongous amount of data which is fed by all these Hubbles of the world and international space stations of the world. And from there, if you have to retrieve or get some trend out, you need computing, and for computing you need coding. So hence, and for coding you need mathematics. So hence, all of these are so intrinsic or very intertwined to each other. So I hope I answered that question. There was one more question about geology. So hence, I would like to answer this, and maybe Swastik can add. So for example, when we are studying, let's say, how did we know? And sometime back, someone was asking in my class, how do you know about the core of the Earth? See, the radius of the Earth is 6,400 kilometers. It is impossible by any human endeavor to go down to the center of the Earth and find out what the core is made up of. So what we do is, as Swastik was mentioning some time back, we do a lot of observations from what all. So we have meteors, asteroids, and all those stuff. And hence, here is where the idea of geology comes into picture. So how is the core of Earth like this? And can we then extrapolate our data to, do a reasonable prediction that some other planet will have the similar structure and things like that? So a good, knowledge of your own planet will always help you compare and contrast with the data which you have already, because that's something which you can do very easily. But then, whenever, let's say, for example, someone asking, Venkat, I believe, asked why it is not, why can't we bring rock material from Mars? The simple reason being that we know only to land in Mars. Unfortunately, we have not known any technique of how to come out of, Mars back to Earth. So whenever that technology will be there, when, you guys will grow up and then you will come up with those technologies, we'll get samples from Mars as well. Yes, Swastik, sorry, you can carry on.
No, so just to add on this, I'll be sharing my experience on how I use statistics and computer science programming. So what we do is that we take images of the patches of the sky, right? And then we train our computers to identify if there are planets or not. So most of you have heard of machine learning. So we train our machines from those images to identify if there is any planet or not. Doing it manually will take, it's not possible practically. Maybe I'm not able to give you the feel.
And the best example, I believe, Swastik, is Doppler's effect.
Yeah.
Wherein if there is any redshift happening, how do you even detect that there is some redshift happening? Because it will take a lot of time. Now, it is humanly impossible to keep looking at, one spectrum and figure out, changes. So hence, computers are like inevitable there. So you can't even imagine to do any astronomy without computers. Yes, sorry.
Yes, that is correct. No, you are absolutely correct. Thanks for adding that part. So yeah, so my main motivation is that it's not only one subject that can help you to become a good astrophysicist. That's what my main thing that I wanted to share with all of you. You need to have a good knowledge of all of this. And one subject which I forgot to mention here, you should have good communication skills also, say be in English or any other subject, because whatever results you publish, that is also needs to be conveyed to the larger audience or larger people. Because let's say I publish a result, but nobody understands it, right? Then it will not create any impact to the society. So we should have a good communication skills also as an astrophysicist, which is very important to convince people that, okay, this result is important. I need more fund for this, something like that. So that communication skills should also be there in you, right? So yeah, that's it. So now people ask me what stage is in modern day astronomy. Is it worth pursuing this career today? Many people have asked me this question. Well, I will tell you about my institute first. So it was set up in 1786 in Madras, and then it's more than 200 years old, and then it was re-established in Kodaikanal, and so it has a very rich history. And to date, Indian Institute of Astrophysics is the only institute, like the Kodaikanal Institute, which has more than 100 years of solar data. So from the last 120 years, they have been tracking the sun every day without any miss, right? And we have the data for that. There is no other observatory other than Greenwich Observatory in England, London. So they have the data and only we have the data. So that's one of the things you should be proud of, Indians as a whole. So that's a part. And so let's speak of astronomy in India. Indian Institute of Astrophysics is one such place where you can pursue your career. There are other places also in India where they do researches focused in astronomy as well. So you have ARIS, Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Studies. We have, all of us know ISRO. There is Physical Research Lab. There is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and that's Mumbai one, which I'm talking about. There is IUCAA, Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, and National Center for Radio Astrophysics. LIGO is also upcoming, so which I haven't mentioned because it's in the formation stage. And if somebody
I'll just add one more here, Swastik, there for all those who are writing there or they are in grade 12 and those who want to, pursue, let's say, astrophysics later on. So there is an institute in Trivandrum called Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. A very, very good institution. Yes. Where they offer you a variety of, courses. First is but then these are all engineering courses. They are not, so to say, pure astrophysics. But in masters, you can do that along with your BTech degree. That's called dual degree there.
Yes.
So hence you will be awarded a aerospace engineering BTech, and then you can choose as a MSc course in astrophysics and astronomy. So they have one specialization. It's a very unique institution, so to say, and the best advantage is that you can be directly absorbed into ISRO if you're a really good performer over there. And second thing is, the entrance is through JEE Advanced. And I had seen the percentile levels. Normally, people getting around 50 percentile in advance also get a chance to get admitted in this institute, IAST. So you can keep these institutions in mind, because immediately for you will be the undergrad program. Unfortunately, apart from this IAST and even for that matter, you would like to throw some light on ICERS maybe. So
I will come to that at the.
So these are, in fact, So I'll anyways explain whatever knowledge I have gathered.
Tushar, I'll just add up on to you. So that is if I'm not wrong, I think that the IIEST that you have said is a part of ISRO only. It's
yes.
So
it
they
is
only
chaired by the chairman of ISRO.
Yeah, so in general, ISRO has different branches, and so that's one of the branches of ISRO. So there is Indian Institute of Remote Sensing also in Dehradun. So that is also a part of ISRO. So ISRO has separate branches where they focus most for their undergrad program is also there. So they mostly focus on specific, like as you said, there is this aeronautics engineering. So there ISRO has different kinds of specific choice-based courses there. So if you are preparing, if you are in +2, you can look into this different options, I guess, and that will really help you, I guess. Thanks Tushar for adding that part. Okay, next. So I'll come to ICERS and NICERS and to that at the end of my talk, and
we can take questions from the audience then also.
Yeah, that should be fine. So what typically what researches do we do in India and IIA as of all? So we have different groups. We study the sun, we study solar physics, we study stellar physics, we study the galaxies. Some people are interested in knowing how star forms and planets form. So we have theoretical physics as well. People who are from engineering background, they mostly take up astronomical instrumentation. They need to build the telescopes. And the most emerging field, which I am working as well as Manika is working, is now on exoplanets and planetary sciences. So that's an upcoming fields, which is not like in a very stable position, but it's a growing field in India as well. So what do facilities we have? We have Kodaikanal Observatory, we have Vainu Bappu Observatory. So you can see there are multiple observatories we have. So for our outreach program, if your school applies, I'll come back to that later. We do conduct outreach programs in IIA. So I'll come to it in details, but we do have these facilities in IIA. So yeah, so I'll just show you. So this is our head office in IIA. This is where we all work and we have our offices. So this is Vainu Bappu telescope. This was established in 1986, and this was once the Asia's largest telescope, 2.36 meter. It held the position for a long time in terms of optical telescope, of course, not in radio. And currently the largest telescope is around 3.6 meter, Devasthal. So this is HCT, it's in Hanle. So this is near the Chinese border, and this is the main telescope of India, which we take observations mostly. And this is there in Hanley. This is another telescope. This is Kodaikanal Solar Telescope. So this is the oldest telescope. It has been there for more than 100 years. So this is one of the telescope. This telescope has not been there for 100 years. This is called the Tunnel telescope, but there are other telescopes also. Just I showed you one telescope, but this is very old telescope. It's mostly for studying the purpose of the studying the sun in details and solar spots and sunspot. This is a radio telescope. So you can see the radio antennas there. So radio telescopes are somewhat advantageous if you have a radio source, because you can operate them both at day and night. You do not need to wait for the night. You can operate them in any kind of season, be it rainy, cloudy, anything, doesn't matter. You can radio waves are not affected by any kind of natural disturbances that we have on Earth. So that's what radio observation, you can continue for 24 hours as well. So that's why radio observations are important. So in India also, we have other facilities. So this is GMRT. This is one of the most important radio observation facility in India, that's operated by NCRA, and they have a telescopic dish. So you can see here. And this is the facility in Aries, Aryabhatta Research, like as I've said.
This is in Nainital, right?
This is in Nainital, and this is 3.6 meter telescope. This is as of now, see, there is debate which is the largest telescope, but this, as of now, in operational terms, this holds the largest optical telescope in India, in Asia as of now. In optical, the largest radio telescope is in China, FAST. That has a diameter of 500 meters. But in optical category, this is the largest telescope as of now. But there are like competing telescope, 3.48 meters, 3.5 meters. But there are like nearby telescopes also. One more point which I have missed before is that I'll just go back once more. So if you see this telescope also, this is the third highest telescope, optical telescope in the world, right? So it's in Himalayas, and this is the third highest optical telescope after the Japanese telescope in the Japanese mountain, and then the Chinese telescope. So this is the third highest in the world, not only in Asia. So yeah, that's the part. And so yeah, this is also very important. So by the time you people will be joining research, these projects are coming up. So we have 30-meter telescope, which would be the world's largest telescope if we finish it before the European telescope. So they are creating a 40-meter telescope, and it's a competition going on who will be building it first. So as of now, we think we will finish them before. So that should be the largest telescope in the world. It's built in Mauna Kea, and we are partnering with 5 countries. So India, China, Japan, Canada, and United States of America. So we are partnering with those countries, and it should be the largest optical telescope in the world. There is NLST, National Large Solar Telescope, that's built in the Hanley as well. So that is also a very upcoming project. We have Aditya, so that is also a space-based mission, and that's been assembled at our CREST Center in IIA as well. So IIA is the leading partner for that. We have for radio telescope, again, there is an expansion of radio heliograph in Gauribandhur Observatory. Square Kilometer Array is an international project where around more than 15 countries are involved, and India is one of them. Other countries, some of them are.
Swastik, you're there? I think.
Yeah, I'm there. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, so that's Square Kilometer Array, and then we have Indian Neutrino Observatory. So that's one of the upcoming projects, but some of the projects have got stuck due to some kind of superstition and misconception about those projects. So for example, Indian Neutrino Observatory, it was going to be in Tamil Nadu, but the local population, like somebody has spread a superstition that neutrinos are harmful to our health, and that's why people will die if we create an observatory there. And so the local have started protesting, and so the work as of now has been halted as of now. But I can assure you that neutrinos will not affect any one of us. It's just passing through our body every minute as well. So yeah, we do have obstacles, but these are the upcoming projects that when you join as a PhD student, then I expect that this all should be.
Only the craze to do PhD is still alive till that point in time. So we are not very sure.
Yeah,
But
that's
yes, we do hope that these people would, pursue higher end astronomy, and maybe
yes.
they can take us to the next other planet.
Yes, so that's correct. Absolutely. So if by the time if your interest still is there, then I hope that these projects will be started, or at least in the starting phase of that. So yeah, that's it. So what options do you have at this stage? So this is particularly for class 9 and 10 students. For 11, 12, of course, you have your board exams, but still there some of the options are there for you. This is not the complete list, but this is something, some small list which I have like cut it short. So yeah, so for those of you who are in Bangalore as of now, you can attend, you can visit Indian Institute of Astrophysics. So most of the celestial events, let's say solar eclipse or whatever events we have, major events, we either conduct it in IIA or at a place which is better from where the observation is good. So last time we did the solar eclipse thing in our IIA only, and then in the Bangalore's popular park, I forgot the name, Lal Bagh mostly.
Yeah,
Lal
Bagh they said it.
Yeah, so Lal Bagh they have
Kaban Park and Lal Bagh.
Yeah, so one of the parks we have set up an observation like telescope for public viewing. So we do this kind of activities, but you have to do a prior registration, and for that we also have talks from international speakers as well. So you have to register it before. Your school can visit, so this is valid only when corona situation is over, but as of now your school can request as a visit, or we can visit your school with an official request, and you can also visit our field stations such as the Kavalur and Gauribadnur. So it has to be requested us, and the authorization have to be taken from the director as well as the outreach committee. All stations are available for visit except Hanley. Hanley, there are government, Hanley is very far away. Of course, for school students, it's not allowed. And even if somebody wants to visit on its own, you need prior government authorization to visit that part of India. We celebrate National Science Day on 20th February. So there are multiple schools participating in various scientific competitions.
So we'll try to visit your IA this time with all the students this 28th February if there is no corona pandemic that time.
Yes, definitely.
We'll try to.
We invite all of you to put up the request for visiting. We accept most of the schools. So there will be quiz competition, drawing competition, and extempo scientific writing. And there are good attractive prizes also for all of you. So as a school, you have to apply. You cannot apply. You can apply as individual also, but then you will not be able to participate in inter-school competitions. If your school is applying on the school's behalf, you can let us know before that your school has applied, so that we'll try to accommodate as many of you as possible. And after that, the most interesting thing, if your parents allow and if you are fine with it, we have a night sky observation if the sky is good at the first place. So we have a night sky observation, and so that is also allowed, and that we conduct it, and you are welcome with us to join us for the session. Last time we had a lot of fun. The sky was good actually, and if the situation is fine, if the corona is not there, then we hope we'll see some of you maybe in 28th February. And for ISRO and other institutes, they conduct small summer workshops, and mostly during summers, maybe for the school students, where you can participate in them. And you need to keep an eye on them when they are happening. It's mostly for the school students, as well as for, if you are doing, if you're in your graduation, then there are programs for graduate students. If somebody is interested, can contact us. But for school students, as of now in IIA, we do not have any such specific projects or courses for school students, but we are planning in near future if we can do that. So I'll convey it to Tushar, maybe once the corona is over.
So we will be anyways communicating, guys, don't worry.
Yeah.
So I think now we can take anything else you have to share, Swastik?
Yeah, I'll just put up three more things. So one is this picture. So who is this? Can anyone answer? Yeah, anyone can answer?
Yeah, so they're saying Neil.
Okay, No, it's Buzz Aldrin. It's not Neil Armstrong. Anyways, so this is the farthest humans have gone in the universe. This is the farthest humans have gone in the universe. This is the last point we have reached in our space exploration. Beyond that, we haven't reached as of now. And I'll end up with this picture. This is not a very good picture. I know people will scold me, but can anyone say what is this picture about? Just any random. This is open to all, everyone. Can anyone say what is this?
I have no clue. It looks like some Saturn rings. So people are saying Saturn rings. Are they Saturn rings?
I got a correct answer from 2 people. So yeah, I got correct answer.
What's the correct answer, by the way?
This is Earth.
Is it?
Okay, this is Earth. This is Earth taken from Voyager 1. And
my God.
This is the farthest image of Earth that we have as of now. This is the farthest image of Earth that we have. And there is a very philosophical saying by Carl Sagan that no matter how, like, I'm not quoting exactly, but what he said, I'll just try to convey. So no matter whoever you know, whoever you have hated or you have fallen in love, killed, any kind of political leader, gods, religion, whatever is there, exists inside that circle. The entire humanity, progress, and whatever exists is only in that tiny pale blue dot, which is just looking as a small dust in the entire universe. That's what his main motto was, that that's where we are. If you compare it with the rest of the universe, we are nothing. We're just a tiny speck of dust. That's what we are there. So Tushar, I am almost done. I have one last thing to show. If after that, so that's a question. I request everyone to.
Do you want a poll? I can create a poll.
People can answer directly, and this is also open to all. So
I can create a poll if you wish, so that we can see the response. Let me create a yes/no poll.
No, this is not a yes/no poll. This is a question. Actually.
Oh, it's a okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, this was a video taken by one of my friend from in Panel Observatory. I'll not be showing the entire video, of course, but the video is visible, right? I paused it now. Tushar?
Yes.
So this is the Chilean Observatory in La Pernal. So my question to you is, wait, let me rewind it first. Okay, can you see, so you just see in the night sky there, can you see that there are white lights moving around? Can you just see?
Yes.
There are white lights moving, just now one light moved, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so again, you can see here, just see the video for 1 minute. And
this is actual laser beam?
Oh, that's a laser beam. So we use a feature called adaptive optics to make a false guided star. And then we can do the stabilization for that. So you can see that there are speckles. So yeah, this is.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
I'll just fast forward it. Okay, just watch this video. You will see that some, yeah. So one light will cross.
We could see that, yes.
Yeah. What is that? So I'll just repeat it. Yeah, you can just see. Yeah. My question is, what is that? You can see that white lights are moving and going in all directions.
Yeah, we can see some, spots here and there.
Yeah, just moving in random direction. My question to all of you is that, what is that? You can unmute yourself if you want.
No, they can't actually. So yeah, they can always respond in a chat. Okay. Yes. Okay. So they are responding in chat.
Okay, it's Stardust. Okay, so
comet, satellite, debris, satellite, comet, stars, meteorites, Milky Way, stars, satellites, meteors, stars.
I haven't got the correct answer yet, so that's
so far no. ISS. Someone says ISS.
No, that's
aeroplanes.
Those are aeroplanes. Yes.
No, what?
Those are aeroplanes.
Oh, is it? Oh my God.
Anurag has said so.
Okay, we got the correct answer from somebody. Okay, that's great. So yes, they are aeroplanes. So yeah, why they are aeroplanes? First of all, stars move from east to west. So had there been had those been like extra solar objects, they should have moved from east to west, just like the other objects in the sky have gone. The shooting stars is not possible. You can see in the time frame it was moving very fast and randomly, and you can see there's a speck of light it was moving. So shooting stars, meteors, like you cannot see that kind of pattern, and those are actually aeroplanes that are crossing the path of the telescope. So that's why you are seeing that those lights are moving. It looks like those are stars or something like that, but they are aeroplanes.
Yeah, great. Okay, so one more thing was there is something called International Astronomy. Sorry, what is that? Astronomy Olympiad, right? So it starts with you know. So I don't know if you're aware. We had a student. Now he has you know, he's writing his mains and advanced. He's already in mains. You must have heard of him, Sukir. So he was actually he cleared Indian National Astronomy Olympiad as well. So there is another thing which the 9th and 10th graders especially can take up from now, and that's another field which you might be interested in. So please do have a look. You do not have a prescribed syllabus for such exams. You must have but very great knowledge of physics and practical knowledge of physics, especially till +2 level, and you will be able to solve problems which they ask in these Olympiads. You can just have a look on Google. You can go to Tata Institute of Fundamental Research site. They have a dedicated Olympiad subsection. There they talk about Indian Astronomical Olympiad as well. So if you wish, you can always you know you can participate in that. Now what we can do is quickly you can have a Q&A session so that we can address your queries one by one. So hence it will be better if you know.
So Gargi had some questions for me before. So can you just unmute her if possible?
So, yeah, I probably would not be. Anyways, you can. So yes, what you guys can do is you can all send me instead of, or in the public also, whichever way. So here's the first question. It says, "Is there is a field of astrobiology?" Yes. So let's talk about astrobiology, how to and what is happening there. So maybe Manika could add some value there. So what is astrobiology and how we can pursue astrobiology, Manika?
So it is the field like the study of the living organisms outside our Earth in the space, like on some any other planet. So mainly this is the field, and so we try to find the life on any other planet by studying the biomolecules, by detecting the biomolecules like oxygen or water, if they are present on that, by studying the light that is emitted by the star through that planet's atmosphere.
Yeah. Now my question here, Manika, anyways, was that do we require a biology degree in +2 level for pursuing astrobiology? So, if I have not taken biology, will I be able to pursue astrobiology later?
Yeah, then also you can pursue it later on. Also, you can learn about that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So those guys who are not in biology, not taken biology right now, if you wish to join astrobiology later on, can also pursue astrobiology in your, I think in master's level only. There is no undergraduate program in astrobiology which is provided today in the country, I believe. That's my knowledge is.
Yeah, Tushar, okay. I am, so I can unmute people who have questions. So
yeah, please go ahead. Please,
yeah, I'm unmuting. So just a second, I'll take up. Can you just name the person? Then it will be helpful.
Yeah. So what is this? This is how is phosphine related to microorganisms?
Yeah, who is asking the question? So
this is Ruchir Singh. He is in our HSR 12.
How is okay? Manika, you want to take that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so phosphine is mainly produced from the biological activities. So there's a so recently we have the people have discovered phosphine on Venus. So there is a possibility that life can exist on Venus, but that phosphine is in very small amount. So we are not sure. So that's what so one people also asked, like, what is the big deal that phosphine has been discovered on Venus? So yeah.
So phosphorus is one of the chemical elements present in organisms, presence of which gives us some glimpse of hope, maybe that in future it could be related to any organism. We can go to that planet, or maybe this planet will be inhabitable because those ingredients are there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but just to add on this, if you read the paper by Nature, they have a false positive of minus 50 sigma. So the detection is not very strong, and it's very weak actually. See, we have seen before. I'm not saying it with confidence because as of now we have not done the test yet, but we have seen previous detections were due to error bars also. So as of now, it's just a simple finding, and as a researcher they have given the error bar of it. So more studies need to be done on that particular field to be very accurate whether a phosphine is actually present there or it's just a detection bias. Or also there are certain cases which has happened before that maybe like signals from the earth actually got reflected back to the telescope. Now in case of radio telescopes we have seen this is very common, and then it just we thought that it's from somewhere outside. So as of now it's just a first study. Follow-up studies are very, very important in this field to make a proper conclusion about any of this.
So what Swastik is saying is, yes, there is a possibility, but it is very difficult right now to say anything about, very great chances just because we have found some traces of it. So, but yes, it's always good to have some kind of indication anyways.
Yes. So Gargi,
sorry, there's another question.
Yeah, Gargi, I've unmuted you. You have a question. You can ask it.
Yeah, I actually had two. So the first one was brown dwarfs are failed stars, right?
Yes,
Like the
yes.
ones that didn't have enough mass to become a star.
Yes.
So like Jupiter could have become a star, but then it didn't have enough mass, so it stayed a planet. But others it could have become a brown dwarf.
Yeah.
And second question was, are there any internships available in the IIA?
That's a good question, actually.
First question I could not get you. Like, what's your question actually? What you said is correct, but I didn't get your question.
It was just a confirmation. Like I was not too sure about the information.
Yeah. So see, now there is a big debate which I am also facing. Is that where do you define this brown dwarf, planets, and stars criteria? So what we do is that planets which have mass more than 13 Jupiter mass, there you do not have enough mass or enough gravitational force to start the hydrogen burning. Yes, nuclear fusion or hydrogen burning. But in those cases, you have deuterium burning. You have sufficient mass to have deuterium burning. So exact mass limit, whether it is 13 or 12.5 or it's 15, it's debatable, right? So for my research, I take it 25, but people have posed a lot of problems with that. So, but as of now, it's accepted that 13 to 75 is considered as brown dwarf. Above 75, it is possible, depending on the circumstances, that whether it can have a nuclear reaction in its core. And above 80 or above 90, you are very confident that you can have nuclear fusion in the core. So that's a star. Brown dwarf is from 13 to 75. That's the standard nomenclature. They are the failed star because they do not have sufficient mass.
Enough mass. Yeah.
And to add to your this thing, yes, IIA does provide internship, but not for school students, I believe. For if you are in a graduate program, undergrad program, then they can take you for some research. But please understand, for all this internship, you must be prepared. You must be equipped with relevant tools, and one of the tools is high-end mathematics. And unless you are thorough with, let's say, +2 level mathematics, it will be difficult for you also to carry any work there of any significant importance. So hence, yes, they do offer, because I have seen lots of interns going to IIA as well. But then in school level, I doubt it is possible.
Yeah.
Are there any courses as well? Like for example, like how the Birla Institute provides like courses to like anyone to like join. So like that, is there any from IIA?
Courses for school students, you are asking, right?
Yeah.
So as of now, we are dedicated particularly to the research field. We do not have any kind of courses. We are not we do not even have our MSc teaching background courses also. It's done in IISc with PAR. So mostly we are dedicated with like research point of view. As of now, we do not have courses, but I can assure you in the later future, we can have small projects. Let's say 1 week or 2 week, maybe we'll discuss with the outreach committees, and we will think if
that could be a nice idea if we can, but because many of these people are trying to apply for foreign universities as well, where they need to show some good amount of work they do. So, and some constructive work can be done, taken up as a small project where they also learn, and then, you know, in terms of experience also, they get some research experience. So probably we can discuss that out.
Yeah, we can
So
discuss.
let's take another question. So
Raghav has one question, so I've unmuted you. Raghav,
Raghav is, yes, Raghav, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically this, so we are searching for life outside Earth, right?
Yes.
Now, logically speaking, there are two reasons why we are searching for it. And that's either to find out more about the origin or about how to solve problems on Earth. And in case we find alien life, either they won't be as complex as us, meaning we won't really learn anything from them, or they'd be too complex and view us as a threat. So is it really the right idea to go looking? And also, if there was other civilizations, why haven't they found us yet?
That's a good question, actually. So let me frame it in this way. We try to find out other civilization by two techniques. One is, which Manika said, we look for biomolecules. The other is we look for radio signals. Now, let's say, considering that the civilization is not very advanced, it's in the premature stage. So in that case, they will not be able to build radio telescope. We consider a civilization which is intelligent if they have the capability to communicate via radio signals. That's how we define intelligent life. And if they haven't, if they do not have the radio signal, have not built up the radio antennas, or if they are not able to communicate via radio signals, we cannot we do not consider them as intelligent civilization. So we assume that the civilizations which do not have radio communications, they are not much advanced as us. That's one. So for space travel, let's say you are traveling around the space, so you need to communicate from your own galaxy, right? In a hypothetical situation, you cannot just simply, if you have not discovered radio signals, you will not be able to communicate from Earth. That's the thing. So the first part of the question answers like, is it dangerous or not? So for the civilizations which have not yet built a radio telescope, we need not fear from them. Now coming to the second part of the question.
But I have a point there, Swastik. So it's better to know your enemy rather than ignoring it. If at all there are threats.
Yes, better knowing your
better to know it rather than, you know, just ignore them, because if you don't know about them, probably, you know, then you are at a greater risk. So hence, and I don't think astronomy is all about finding out a threat and then neutralizing it. It's like, you know, why do you even find the highest prime number? What thrill do you get? Right. What is the use of getting a highest prime number? But I have the answer. What is, you know, why people go for all such quests? Because every quest leads to lots of other useful research. For example, you know that, you know, it was the Cold War era space research, which now we are using as messaging system and GPS and all those military research which went on. So hence everything gives you a lot of you know, parallel advantages. So hence research is not with an objective only to find out some, you know, research also is attached with something called spin-offs. So all this internet which you use today was never targeted to be achieved sometime. It was just to achieve something. It was developed, and then now you and me are using the same internet to have this discussion also. So hence research is, again, it is a, you know, the original human quest to know what Swastik was mentioning, the three basic questions: who are we, where are we coming from, and, you know, all those philosophical quests as well. I hope I answered that query for you. Yeah.
So I'll just add up to the last part. You need not fear from those civilizations also, even if they are there. Why? We have discovered radio telescopes in 1930s randomly, and it's just 80 years, right? Let's say civilization is around 100 years away from us. So even if they have sent a signal, we have not passed 100 or 200 years. Let's say a planet is located 100 light years from us. So that means the signal from that planet will take 100 years to reach the Earth, right? So we still have not passed that 100 years phase or 200 years phase to know whether there is life in that planet or not. So it's very early stage to make a general conclusion that there is no life at all. We need more amount of
evidence.
Yeah, to good evidence to suggest that there could be life outside Earth. I can suggest you to look into this Drake's equation and Sara Seeger's equation, which they like taking they have done some mathematical calculation to show that per galaxy there should be at least 1.26 civilizations. So if you consider Milky Way, we should be the only civilization that we are there. Like 1.2 is close to 1, so you can assume that. But yes, you need not fear because they are too far away. It will take around 100, 200 years because in the last 60 years, we have found nothing. So that concludes that in 60 years time, nobody else is coming to attack us, because even if they start now, it will take 60 years if they travel at the speed of light, assuming their speed. So they will not come in the next 100 to 200 years as of now. So for your lifetime, you can relax. And
yeah, sorry to intervene. I can see a lot of questions related to AI, and so Pranav is asking. Pranav, your question is, can AI models help predict the number of planets or any planet of a distant exoplanet system?
Yes, yes. Yes, not habitable. I cannot guarantee that you can detect habitable planet because it depends on the resolution. So star is very bright and planet do not have any light of their own. So if the planet is very close, then it gets hidden in the star's background light. But still we have something called direct imaging technique, and recently people from NASA, like one of our collaborators, have published a machine learning algorithm which can detect planets from this images and all. So it's possible. It's done.
Just to add here, machine learning and AI are just tools. They are not the end goals in themselves. So hence, you can use this for predicting how the sensors will behave. You can use this for a robotic maneuver. You can use it for satellite control. You can use it for missile launch, for anything, right? So whenever you want to, make the system a little bit more intelligent, there is where you use AI, and it is used in IoT, it is used in internet, it is used in power grid corporation to find out whether the load balancing is perfect or not. So it has got wide applications. So obviously, wherever data will be there will be use of all these tools.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, it's like a brick, and
there's a good question which is coming up. They are asking, when did you decide to take up this stream? That's a very good question.
Well, Manika, would you like to answer this?
When did Manika decide to take up this stream?
I decided after MSc.
Okay.
So yeah. So
actually, there were very few options for me. So this was one of them. But in my childhood, these things were very fantasy. So that's why.
Yeah, no, the comment which I'm getting is, okay, we have time if you have to decide in MSc, and that's where unfortunately you are in a country where this is not discussed at all. So this is a very wrong practice of deciding, when you have to cross the bridge, then you decide whether you walk on foot or whatever. So hence these kind of sessions are done so that you guys can be aware of these things. For example, during my time when I was your age, I did not know anything but JEE, or that time there was something called All India PMT, pre-medical test. So there was only two options available to us. And now that we talk about so many fields, we get to, we realize that if someone that point in time would have introduced these concepts or these fields to us, probably would have, definitely, given a thought. But here is where the thing is. So do not wait till MSc, because frankly speaking, I always want to go back to medical science, because that is one field which I really want to do once again if I get a life. But now I can't do because of all those, constraints and all that. So hence, my piece of advice to all of you would be that do not be, there are two kinds of people which in my observation I have seen. One cluster is they are too fixated on one thing, that I want to do only this. There's another cluster which is not fixated on anything. So both are not very,
Tushar, to add you on this, actually you can decide on MSc, but you need to have a very strong background by then. So you have to create the background slowly by slowly. It's like if you keep on thinking till MSc, ki are chalo iske baad we'll do it, it's not going to work out. So till the time to till MSc, you have to have that strong background, no matter which field you want to go. In mathematics, in computer science, in physics, in basic sciences, you have to be very strong. You should not this should not be a misconception that you have time till MSc to decide. It's not that what we are saying. What we are saying is that the core subjects are very important. The core subjects like physics, maths, chemistry, statistics, you have to build your concept better. After that, even in MSc also, you decide that you don't want to go for astrophysics. Like throughout your life, you have decided you want to go for astrophysics, but then suddenly you realize, no, I find something better.
And I find one more trend here. So hence just to remind our friends here, see, a science science subjects are not general knowledge or factual gathering.
Yes.
So, I see a lot of glamour attached to knowing this supernova, this, that,
Yeah,
XYZ,
correct. Yeah.
big words. People feel so excited about knowing this. But I'm telling you from all our experience of I've been to IITs, and Swastik has been into one of the premier institutes of this universe, of this country at least. We know that unless you're very, very solidly, firm on the basics of maths and physics, at least if you're wanting to pursue these things, all these gyan is of not if you use if you are not very strong in these basic subjects. So hence we keep on chasing you all that, hey, you first try and build your foundation of maths and science very, very strong.
Yes.
Only that, yes. So physics has to be, physics and mathematics. These two subjects are the, the steel framework of astronomy, astrophysics, astrobiology, AI, ML, X, Y, Z, whatever you call it. Even for that matter today, to even economics, psychology, everywhere these tools are used. So hence, if I were you, probably I would have concentrated or focused more on making this as a my weapon, and then probably I would take up any field whenever I decide to go into.
Yeah.
I hope this is a good discussion. So we have already crossed the time limit.
So there is a question from Meha Mitra. So she has been asking, he or she, I don't know. So I have been getting this question, so I'll just like to answer.
Please respond.
Sir, please answer to this question that space researchers have found a new planet in the Andromeda galaxy. And so is it possible, please confirm, because there is an article about it. So yeah, there are planets found extragalactically, but that is like via microlensing. So that's another technique. The problem with that technique is that you can see the planet only once. You cannot see it for follow-up observation. Yes, there are planets detected by microlensing techniques. You can find far away at a very large distances, but those are like you cannot do any kind of follow-up observation, study any kind of properties for those planets. So it's important to study the statistics as a whole, but if you want to study the planet individually, you do not have an option. You just have only the time frame, and it's luck based. Like people point the telescope and they find it. It's not like that here. And Tushar, what Tushar repeats constantly, I'll also repeat on that point. Your 12th base should be very, very clear. No matter whichever field you want to go, if it is astrophysics or any field of engineering, if you skip and if you think that you want to jump in class 12 and then you want to do great in life, it's impossible. Your 12th concept will haunt you throughout your life. If you miss something, it's going to haunt you. Like, trust me, some parts, like to be honest, like, I'll be very frank, electromagnetic theory, like you have this induction part and all. Yeah, there I like skip little bit. I thought, I'll go to astrophysics. Why I do need to study that? But it keeps on haunting me till that. I need to study, go back to 12th, and I keep on studying it. So do not skip any portion in this, even if it is important for your JEE or not, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you should be happy, like you should be satisfied that I am confident in this field. That should be your goal, right? That's what I want to say. Never be in that thought that if you go to a particular field, you will be needing only some parts of the physics and not the overall thing. That's a very bad misconception which I have seen among students. Be careful with this pitfall. That's what.
So yeah, so I would summarize now. So thanks both of you, Monica and Swastik, and those people who have not got their questions answered, don't worry. If you think you want that answer, you can always talk to me. My contact number is there, and we can arrange for us one-on-one connect with these two experts as well. That's not a problem. Point number one. Point number two is the summary is astrophysics, astronomy is really upcoming and very, very exciting field to be in. But for that, the core is, again, every odd exam or every odd entrance exam for these institutions will take you or will test you on at least two subjects, mathematics and physics. I was just searching on the requirements for foreign universities as well. So there as well, you have to take a SAT subject in mathematics, and if you're taking SAT 2, so you have to take the second level 2 mathematics for sure. Okay, and then a few universities require physics also as a ingredient or the prerequisite for those. So all these institutes like can just check MIT, Stanford, and Caltech. All these universities abroad is and Germany also. So all these institutions require a very sound foundation on maths and physics. So hence, whatever is being done now, if you are very thorough with that, then only you can even imagine to get into, this field. Yes, if you want to be a hobbyist in astronomy, you can pursue like what we are also doing. We have a telescope. We exchange, there are some apps available, which probably in the next session, whenever we do it, we'll tell you about, where we, keep on discussing about the astronomical events which are happening. So these are all as a hobbyist we can do. But if you really want to take it as a research career, as in, pursue it as your profession throughout this thing. So I know these, or whatever my knowledge is, these are nothing but the same name or a different name to physics and mathematics, nothing else. So I hope you got to know something about the field. The idea is we will conduct many more such different fields orientations with you all. If you have any particular thing in mind, you can always reach out to me, tell me, and we will try to get some expert on that particular field, and we can have a discussion. Any other feedback or anything else is also very welcome. Please feel free. So this was the first session of this series, and this year, usually we conduct it in our offices or schools, but never mind. This is also a good platform. Yeah. Unfortunately, all these videos and all that make more sense when you watch it live in the in the auditorium or in a projector screen. But anyway, so given the conditions we are in, we'll try to do multiple such sessions with you all. And if you have any suggestions, you feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you. So I hope this session was good. Yes, Swastik wants to say something.
Yeah, so me and Manika will be leaving our email addresses in the chat box. If you have any particular question about that, you are free to mail us. I guess Manika is also fine with that. So we are just dropping our email addresses in the chat box. So you can mail us if we are not able to answer your question due to the time limit.
So you can directly reach out to them, mail your answer specific to the subject matter. They will be very happy to respond to such questions. Yeah. So related to internship, project,
whatever you have,
whatever this thing you have regarding this.
Yeah.
So you can always reach out.
We'll try to get back to you. Maybe like if it is delayed, also we usually get back to you in 3 to 4 days. Like we also have other work. So, but we'll try to answer your questions. Like we can assure you that. So you can mail us directly. Yeah.
So thanks for attending this session, guys, and thanks Swastik and Manika. And I hope our children and other people who are participants got to know something about the field. Time was the key, but we'll try. We'll try to get some more information on different fields. So this is a series, as you know. Swastik is going to come once again. Manika is also going to come once again for different subjects again. So we'll talk and share whatever knowledge we have with us to all of you. So thanks a lot. Stay safe. And good night to everyone. Thank you. So bye-bye. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Manika.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah. Bye-bye.